It's another edition of your primetime news bulletin here on Joy News on Multi TV. In this edition, all 23 passengers on board 207 Benz bus feared dead in Ashanti Region highway crash. Unionless commercial drivers outlawed by city authorities in Accra bypass Accra Metropolitan Assembly for much sought after permits. Test flight of locally manufactured aircraft botched over paperwork. Junior high school within Ghana South Municipal Assembly facing eviction say they are helpless as MC leaves them to their fate. And several ministries, departments and agencies yet to have prepaid electricity meters installed 3 years after a directive from then Vice President Mahama. Also coming up in the bulletin in the next 60 minutes, we have sports, business, showbiz and international news. Stay tuned.
News at 8 with Israel Lai.
In our very first story, all passengers on board a fully loaded 207 Benz bus are feared death after it got involved in an accident at Nomaso Nkwanta in the Kwabre East district of the Ashanti region. The bus crashed into a tipper truck loaded with chippings, veered off the road and somersaulted. Mahmoud Mohamed Nuruddin visited the scene and filed this report.
The bus with registration number GR 3212V was traveling from Kumasi to Ijra. According to the police, the driver of the tipper truck with registration number GR 8736U was about to join the Asonomaso Nkwanta highway, failed to observe oncoming traffic before joining, running into the 207 Benz bus, which was traveling on the highway at top speed at the time. Superintendent Bismarck Japan is the Mampontin District Police Commander. He advised drivers using the highway to always be alert to avoid such fatal accidents.
Advice for all drivers, especially on highways, is that they should be very careful. I mean, when they are in town, when they are going outside the town, when they get to a junction where it's a busy place, and as you can see, this is a busy place because of the quarries. We have big trucks here. We will advise all drivers that anytime they're on the highway and they are getting to certain spots and junctions, they should exercise much carefulness.
Meanwhile, the regional director of the National Road Safety Commission condemned the action of the tipper truck driver and said he would face the rigors of the law when found guilty. The bodies of the deceased have since been deposited at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital.
Unionless commercial drivers, otherwise referred to as floating drivers, were recently targeted by the Accra Metropolitan Assembly, appear to have found a way around the AMA's directive. The AMA, following the passage of a legislative instrument by Parliament which it says requires all commercial drivers to belong to a union and possess certain documents, clamped down on those who had not complied, arresting some of them in the process. The drivers, however, say securing the necessary permits from the AMA is too cumbersome and expensive, and as such are finding a way around the assembly. Matilda Nyakwa Dennis has more.
According to the AMA, the law, apart from making it mandatory for commercial drivers to possess a road transport operator's license, requires each taxi driver to be employed by or belong to a recognized commercial road transport organization, in other words, a transport union. A section of the drivers, however, protested, blocking some streets in Accra. They tell Joy News the AMA is being unrealistic with its demand by asking them to carry all sorts of documents. Documents, they say, come at a cost and can be time-consuming to pursue.
Okovanapwe denied that he didn't do this driver licenses to the drivers. But normally, if you go to the other assemblies now, they don't have this one. It's a book. But Okovanapwe did this one to see what's the difference. This is the original driver license. This is the AMA driver license. But he is denied that he didn't do this one for us. But Okovanapwe is denied. That's why I'm showing this one to you. Then you see this is the official original driver license from DVLA. But only Okovanapwe is doing this one.
His colleagues add that as taxpayers, they deserve better treatment.
Roadwork Insurance.
So we are going for people and still they are demand another money to correct another.
We are plenty more than the union. So me, I want to meet the mayor of Accra. I want to meet him one-on-one, so that me too I have some question to ask him. You see, because if you invite us, what is worrying with the floating drivers? We tell you so that you can even advise us. The other day he was saying that he is going to talk to his city, his guards and the task force. And I was saying that you throw a stone to the wall and the stone will come and hit you. What hit him before he said that? You say when you take a passenger, you can't go to Tema. What does he mean? You understand me? So when you are talking, you have to be very, very careful because you are dealing with human beings.
So the process is too long, and for Ghana here, they say we have a freedom of association. You understand? So once I'm a Ghanaian and I'm operating my business, I've paid internal revenue, AMA tax, I have a AMA license. I don't know what again. We have embossed our law, this account to for 31 Ghana cedi. We are expecting them to put an injunction to this on useless bylaws.
According to them, the numerous ID cards being required of them are just a means for the AMA officials to extort monies from them. Many say they are turning to other municipalities outside Accra, where it is a lot easier to acquire those documents. 53-year-old Bruce Kofi Awuto, who says he has been a floating driver for 27 years, explains the AMA will be better off dialoguing with them.
You see, what the man is doing me, I don't seem to understand, but it's like he's forcing us to obey him. But it's the one I'm saying that we are human beings. What I want him to do is that you invite all the floating drivers, talk to us. You call us at me everything I do my suggestion. You just call us to the Independence. All the floating drivers in town come to Independence Square. We can make a queue. Everybody will ask a question. The question that we will ask, you will jot it so that you go inside through. If the floating drivers are correct, then you take it. If they're not correct, then you back it off.
Some drivers, meanwhile, say they will use the courts to stop the AMA.
Elsewhere, teachers and pupils of Galilea DA2 JHS are wondering what will become of them after December this year, when they expect to be thrown out of their current premises. The school was relocated into the current structure when their old dilapidated building was demolished. The IVers say the assembly has made no efforts to find them a permanent place.
The teachers say the Gusau Municipal Assembly ordered for the demolition of the dilapidated school building because it was a threat to the pupils and staff. They, however, say the landlord in the nearby house who gave them temporary shelter wants his property back and has given them up to December to relocate. The teachers refused to speak on camera for fear of being victimized, but tell Joy News they were told by the MCE Jerry Thompson that the assembly had no funds to continue the Get Fund project, which was started 3 years ago, which could have accommodated them. According to them, he advised that the pupils be distributed to other schools in the meantime. The municipal chief executive, Jerry Thompson, would also not speak on camera, but reiterated the assembly has no funds to look for an alternative for the school and that the school authorities should manage on their own. The head teacher of the school, who also refused to speak on camera, added the PTE and the school authorities are yet to meet to decide on the fate of the school.
The president of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association, Kweku Asante-Krobia, has stated that the association will resist any attempt by any person or group of persons seeking to withdraw the allowances of trainee nurses. Kweku Asante-Krobia said this at the 14th Biennial National Delegates Conference of the association in Guam. Rafiq Salam sent in this report.
The 14th Biennial National Delegates Conference of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association was held on the theme Strengthening Autonomy in Nursing and Midwifery Practice, Challenges and Way Forward. The national president of the Ghana Registered Nurses Association, Kweku Asante-Krobia, stated that despite the extremely hazardous role nurses and midwives play in the healthcare delivery system, their efforts are not recognized when key policies and programs that will benefit them are being implemented. He expressed worry about difficulties they go through to access medical treatment when they fall ill. He was also concerned that they bear healthcare costs they incur from their normal lines of duty a situation he thinks is unfair.
Resist any attempt by any person or group of persons who will push for or subscribe to the withdrawal of the allowances of our trainees, whose benefits were negotiated for and are factored onto the single spine salary structure. Indeed, we do not bargain for praise as well-trained professionals, but we cannot accept to be marginalized by anyone who fails to recognize our rights and professional distinctiveness and resort to acts that will undermine the respect due our profession, which we uphold as one of matchless value.
He called on the government to institute and promote policies that will enhance their practice. The head of Department of Allied Health Sciences of the University for Development Studies, Dr. Robert Kugnab-Lem, assured that academia will make sure that the younger generation of health professionals they train have entrepreneurial skills and can take bold decisions.
Because the issue of nursing education is not being handled by nurses, but are decided by people remotely connected to nursing or nursing education. The blame is not to be directed to those taking decisions on nursing education, but the nurse educator and the nurse leader who is not able to take decisions as to the future of nursing education and the future of nursing practice. If you don't want to lead, certainly you'll be led.
The GRNA also commissioned a 750,000 Ghana cedi facility to be used as a hostel and regional secretariat. Rafiq Salam's report.
9-year-old Anaba Abogre, a class 4 pupil from Petia, a suburb of Bolgatanga in the Upper East region, needs urgent help to perform a surgery to correct a birth defect that makes it impossible for him to pass urine the normal way. A member of a set of triplets born to his mother, Anaba suffered a congenital medical condition known as bladder extrophy. His bladder is exposed outside his body, making urine constantly flow out without necessarily urinating. Albert Sori has more.
Anaba's father is a poor farmer who is now old and unable to work. His mother, Akopoka, was a petty trader but had to stop trading in order to take care of him because his condition was worsening. Akopoka has 9 children from 7 births, and Anaba is one of triplets the family is blessed with. The other 2 of the triplets are girls who are very healthy and doing well in school. At birth, Anaba's genitals were not properly formed and his bladder exposed outside his body, making his urine constantly flow out of his body. For this reason, at age 9, Anaba still wears diapers. Doctors at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital in Kumasi diagnosed his condition as bladder extrophy and booked him for surgery in April 2012, a subsequent review in September that same year. However, Anaba's parents could not even afford the cost of transportation from Bolgatanga to Kumasi, not to talk of the cost of the surgery of 5,000 Ghana cedis. Joy News caught up with him in the company of his mother and headmistress in search of help.
I had triplets and accepted them because they are gifts from God. I have managed to look after them and even put them in school. But Anaba's condition is very disturbing to me. The urine just keeps dripping and swelling him, so his colleagues at school make fun of him, saying that he stinks. We cannot pay for the cost of his operation. Even feeding is a big problem for us. I am therefore appealing for help from everyone out there, so we can get his operation done.
The headmistress of Sakorit Primary School, which Anaba attends, Margaret Adongo, said she had to promote Anaba from class 2 straight to class 4 to join his 2 siblings because of his intelligence, but his condition is adversely affecting his performance in school.
The boy's condition affects his learning in school so much. One, when he comes in from school, from the home, he doesn't come out for break. He's always seated in the classroom throughout the instructional hours from 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. He doesn't come out to play. Secondly, when he swears himself, the classmates always make some signs that he's smelling. Sometimes they even say, hey, I never do that. They will make fun of him. And that sometimes even affects the other two siblings, because they always have to also feel the pain. The boy will be crying, so the whole day he may not even now steady.
Please help save the life of Anaba.
Indeed, once in a while we have some of these stories coming through. Please help if you can. Elsewhere, 12-year-old teenage girl from Kwame Tinting in the Tying district of the Bunahafo region has allegedly been defiled by 25-year-old unemployed Yao Owu Asante. The victim, as a result of serious injuries to her private parts, was sent to the Tying district hospital for medical attention, while the perpetrator is said to be on the run. Nestor Kafui Ajuma has been following the story and filed this report from Nsakao.
In the evening of October 16, Yao Owu Asante, a neighbor of the victim at Kwame Tinting, a farming community about half a mile from Nsoko, the Tying district capital, sent her to buy him kinky. He is said to have defiled her upon her return with the kinky. According to the 12-year-old, she regularly runs errands for Yao until that fateful day. Yao Owu Asante is meanwhile said to have fled the community. The Tying District Director of Health Services, Dr. Roxanne Ejay, who has been attending to the victim, complained bitterly about the spate of rape, defilement and assault cases in the area and the lack of prosecution of the perpetrators. According to him, most of the cases that were brought to the Nsoko hospital were either abandoned or were settled amicably.
Quite a number of sexual assaults since I came to the district as a doctor. And in all of them, you sign the police form and then you send it back to the police station. But, you know, the rest is left with the law to take its course. And I cannot confirm whether those people receive justice. Because talking to a few of them, they tell me, oh, the issue was resolved in the house. But I cannot confirm from the police. And I've also asked the police what happened about those cases. So I think probably I have a few, I think I can lay hand on some few police forms I've signed, which I don't know the outcome. It's either I did not get the outcome or probably nothing was done about it.
He says he has since referred the case to the Nsoko police for investigation and appealed to the people of the district to desist from settling sexual assault cases at home. The victim was treated and has returned to her home at Kwame Tinting. Nestor Kafui Ajoma's report.
We'll be back with more news. Stay tuned. Members of the Public Accounts Committee have expressed worry about the expenses of the West Africa Agricultural Productivity Program, WAP, as highlighted by the Auditor General's report for 2011. They were questioned on the expenses when the Ministry of Food and Agriculture took its turn at the Public Accounts Committee sitting in Accra.
The $15 million WAP project was initiated and funded by the World Bank to improve and maximize agricultural productivity in the sub-region and boost food security. A whopping 50% of the money was, however, said to have been spent on administrative and miscellaneous expenditure, a major concern for the members.
Your core mandate is research, which is itemized here, civil works, training consultancy, operating costs. Then we have something called other expenditure, 50%. I think we need a breakdown of what this is, a proper one.
The members were, however, dissatisfied with the justification given by the project accountant, David Fusu.
Like our motor running expenses, stationery, and, meetings and all expenditures that are related to the running of the PCU and the project. And all documents are available. All documents are available if you need to produce you.
The concern is that if you can put as much as this into administrative expenditure, and you are talking about vehicle maintenance and office maintenance and equipment and those things, the concern is that that aspect is too much for the project.
Chairman of the committee then requested they furnish the committee with a breakdown of their expenses.
If you look at the notes, that's what the auditor read. That's why you see, I saw the account and I realized that the notes is not adequate. It doesn't disclose fully, right? So what he was trying to tell us is not captured here. And that's why I'm asking that they should give us more information, detailed schedules that will satisfy our curiosity. And Honourable Minister, when we get the schedules and the committee thinks that we should come back, we will so do.
Other projects and departments under the Ministry of Food and Agriculture, such as the Inland Valley Rice Development Project, Export Marketing and Quality Awareness Project, and others also appeared before the committee.
Two suspects who allegedly attacked and robbed passengers at gunpoint on the Winchin-Sakau Road in the Brahafo region have been identified by their victims. Omar Osman, 36, and Mohammed Ibrahim, 28, were picked out by 11 of their victims at an identification parade organized by the Winchi Divisional Police Command at Winchi in the Brahafo region. Nestor Kafui Hajoma has more.
Omar Osman and Mohammed Ibrahim, with 10 others, are said to have mounted a roadblock between Yabraso and Tainso on the Winchin-Sakau Road on October 10 and robbed over 10 vehicles. Osman from Wa and Ibrahim from Tumu subsequently arrested in Winchi, where they had surfaced ostensibly to enjoy their share of the booty after an alarm was raised by one of their victims on the Winchin-Sakau Road. The police, however, decided to line them up in an identification parade at which other victims were invited to pick them out. ACP Jantre is the Winchi Divisional Police Commander. He advised members of the public to remain calm and not resist robbers.
We have even called for more vehicles and more personnel, so that we can cover all the sensitive areas. Anytime any such incident occur, we get the hand through our communication, and now thanks to mobile phone and those kind of things, so that we rush to the scene where we have not covered. But as at now, we are firmly on the ground.
The suspects are currently in police custody to appear before the Winchi Magistrate Court soon. Nesta Kafuyajome's report.
Efforts at promoting sustainable food systems are in danger if vast tracts of land are sold or leased for mining and for the production of biofuels. The Brahafo Regional Director of the Ministry of Food and Agriculture was speaking at the commemoration of this year's World Food Day at Nsakau in the Tyne district, said the country's food security could be threatened if the steps are not taken to halt the indiscriminate takeover of farmland.
The Brahafo region is one of Ghana's most important food baskets. Apart from its extensive forest reserves and cocoa plantations, it has a large acreage of food crops. In recent times, however, bad roads, unavailability of ready market, inadequate dryers, silos, irrigation facilities and processing plants have affected the production of food crops in the region. The practice, Dr. Quist said, does not only destroy the ability of the soil to support crop production, but also contributes to the destruction of water bodies that are vital to agricultural production.
Trying to help the farmers to use improved planting material, to adopt the good agronomic practices. This we believe would increase their yields and therefore increase their profitability. And not only that, we believe now to markets should drive production. So we are trying to see how we can now lay emphasis on the food system. That is looking at the various commodity value chains to see how best we can strengthen the linkages between the various actors so that we will build trust and then they will be able to understand one another, know what the market wants, and therefore produce for the market.
He mentioned that MOFA in the Brahafo region is promoting the development of various commodity value chains in order to maintain sustainable food systems. Dr. Quist, however, described the food situation in the region as good and stable.
Data that we've received from all the districts indicate that the major season production exceeded the food requirements of the citizens of the various districts. That is to say that we recorded surpluses for most of the major staples that we have in this region.
The aspirations of 4 struggling Ghanaian innovators to make a name for themselves and in the process probably a fortune were crashed, albeit temporarily, when a prototype of their locally manufactured aircraft failed to lift off. Fortunately, it wasn't because they were not on top of their game, but because they had not obtained the necessary permission to use the military airfield at Afienya here in the Greater Accra region. Marianne Toure was there for the botched first flight.
This is Goffy, supposedly Ghana's first man-made aircraft. If you're wondering, Goffy stands for God has favored Isaac. We're here at Afienya, and today we were supposed to test drive it, but we haven't been able to do so because apparently the permit which was supposed to be given for Goffy to be driven has not been given. So here I am trying to enter Goffy. Oh, Jesus. And do my test drive. Very cumbersome to enter, but I'll speak to the people who invented it and they'll tell us, well, what is going to happen, the way forward for this baby here. Joseph Sapong is an electrician and he explains why they could not fly.
And they gave us the permission. But when we brought the plane over there, they were saying, we can't fly. So, I don't know, we came here on Wednesday. Since that day, we've been seeking permission, trying to find out some help, but still we've not gotten the place. Actually, they said this place is for the Ghana Armed Forces. So unless maybe we go to the Bema camp, Accra, we go meet the commander, Air Force commander, before we can fly over there. But since then, we've not heard anything. The day we came to seek for the permission, it was a different person, but he thought maybe it was a small aircraft or controlled by a remote, not knowing it was a big aircraft. So when he came, he said we couldn't fly. We've gotten a new place at Akuse, which was made by the ex-president Jerry John Rawlings, which we were planning to fly maybe tomorrow.
The team is made up of Joseph Sapong, an electrician, James Labi, who fabricated the body, Prosper Yeboah, also an electrician, and Isaac Otu, the main brain behind the project. It's about time we invented our own in this country. We don't need to go to Airbus in France to order our planes anymore because, hey, we have Isaac and his team here who are doing a very great job for Ghana. So if you are out there and you want to help them, you can get in touch with us and we will get you in touch with them. For Joy News, Marianne Toure reporting from somewhere in Afienya.
Well, if it looks like one that can't fly, they say don't judge a plane by its looks. We'll wait to see how it goes later on. We'll update you as and when we have the latest on the story. We'll be back with business news.
Hello, welcome to Joy Business. I'm Abigail Adomakwentri. Now to our very first business story. Minister for Finance and Economic Planning said Tekwe, in reaction to Ghana's downgrade by global credit rating agency Fitch, has admitted the single spine pay policy remains one of the key challenges in government and government is having to grapple with in the management of the public purse. Speaking on Joy FM's Super Morning Show, he however insisted the country's economic fundamentals are strong. The challenges notwithstanding.
I'd focus on the short term, which is very important, but Ghana did not have a 1 year realignment, program, and that we had announced a 3 year, program. Nobody describes a Fitch rating as a fact. They have a criteria and they use it. But I had hoped that they would also look at the full 3 year program and Ghana's, prospective medium term, which everybody concedes, is a bright one, and for which reason we are implementing the measures. The second point I made was about the measures, that even in the short term, the government had demonstrated enough courage, to show that it was willing to tackle the issues that were confronting the economy. And I went ahead to say that in the 2013 budget, we had actually outlined the causes of the overrun, for the first time quantified them, and announced steps, to correct them. Even as we speak, growing at about 7% potentially for 2013. Against the background of the serious power crisis that we had for a year, and recent gold and cocoa price shortfalls that also affected the economy, many global finance ministers and governments would actually be proud of such a performance.
Now, Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture, Dr. Hannah Bisiu, has reiterated the ministry's commitment to drastically reduce poultry imports. She says the ministry is set to subsidize poultry feed for producers to enable farmers access cheaper feed locally.
High level of poultry imports accompanied with high cost of poultry feed remain the main challenges facing the local poultry industry. A 2013 U.S. Department of Agriculture report on the local industry has indicated the sector has been on the decline and could now handle just about 10% of the total demand of the country. Over the last 5 years, chicken imports alone cumulatively accounted for 74.2% of Ghana's total meat import of 521,291 metric tons and increased by 5% from 157,000 metric tons in 2012 to 165,000 metric tons this year. Speaking at the dialogue session at the 4th National Policy Fair, the Deputy Minister for Food and Agriculture outlined how government intends to deal with the challenges of poultry farmers.
Last year alone, our import bill was $250 million. That was the import of poultry products into the country. Gradually, our local production is dying out. What we're doing is that maize is going to be subsidized. Government has taken measures to also cut down on the thousands and thousands of tons of poultry products that are imported into the country. And for that one, we are not compromising at all. We are doing it, we started. We know it's not very palatable to some of our importers, but just as some countries have taken measures, they're putting policies in place, and so they overproduce and is being brought to our country. We as an agrarian country, we also feel that we can do same.
The poultry industry is just one of the several agricultural subsectors experiencing a decline, and for other speakers at the fair, modernizing it for growth remains crucial.
A renewed focus on modernizing our agriculture in rural development can help us meet the Millennium Development Goals, the MDGs. Number one, that's the eradication extreme poverty and hunger by 2015. In fact, our systems and mode of farming in this age have remained outmoded and obsolete with little yield. We cannot expect much if we continue to depend on rain-fed agriculture coupled with the significant post-harvest losses, let alone creating employment for our youth.
He also called for the engagement of the private sector in agriculture while urging commercial banks to readily fund the operations of those in the sector.
Now, the Institute of Statistical, Social and Economic Research is asking government to find alternative ways to raise revenue to reduce overdependence on the cocoa and other agricultural commodity exports. Director of the Institute, Professor Felix Asante, mentioned specifically broadening of the tax net to include people who are not on government payroll. A report by Mahmoud Mohammed Nuruddin.
According to Professor Asante, high government expenditure and increasing demand for remuneration by workers is making the provision of other social services and amenities difficult. He cites the National Identification Program as one manageable means to ensure equitable taxation of Ghanaians. The ISA director observes, though poverty indicators show positive results, the situation on the ground indicates otherwise.
In terms of gross projections for this year, I think we will achieve the 8%. It's been revised to 7 point something. Fine, it's on track. But the challenge is how to translate this growth into the average, into the pocket of an average Ghanaian in terms of standard of living. Okay, and that is the source of worry. And into the future, government expenditure is still quite high, and because of that, monies to run government business is also delayed because there's too much demand on salaries.
Agriculture accounted for about 50% of national employment and a little over 22% of the country's gross domestic product in 2012. The sector registered a 1.3% growth compared to 0.8% rate in 2011, but below the target of 4.8%. At a workshop to discuss a report on the Ghanaian economy for 2012, Professor Asante pointed out agriculture must be run as a business rather than allow the fate of peasant farmers to be determined by the weather. Participant at the workshop believes if much is done, the Ghanaian economy would grow.
And that'll be all for business. I'm Abigail Adumakwenchi. Do enjoy your weekend.
Fill you in with the very latest in the world of sports, and the local Black Stars will play Sierra Leone and the open fixture of the Gold TV Waffle Cup next month. After this afternoon's draw pitted both teams in Group A alongside Benin and Burkina Faso. The 8-team competition is reserved for only home-based players of member nations and is scheduled to take place in Accra next month. President of Waffle Kwasi Nyantakyi has been speaking to Joy Sports ahead of the tournament.
The Waffle competition will be played in Ghana from 21st to 28th of November this year, and is dedicated to the Chan teams. It's an 8-nation tournament involving Ghana, Burkina Faso, Niger, Togo, Benin, Senegal, Sierra Leone and Gabon. It's supposed to prepare the teams for the upcoming Chan event in South Africa. The official launch and the drawing of lots, which is the balloting, will take place tomorrow at the Accra Sports Stadium at 11 a.m. I think that the Waffle is a good platform to develop sub-regional football in this part of Africa, and we hope that it will recreate a platform for more players to be discovered in this zone. We are the strongest in Africa. We always produce a lot of champions in the various competitions of CAF and FIFA. If we look at the 5 slots that will be given to Africa for the next World Cup, I'm optimistic that at least 3 will come from West Africa. And so it's an opportunity for us to contribute towards the development of the game in this region.
Let's now do a bit in the Ghana Premier League, and Inter Allies have appointed veteran coach Herbert Addo as the new coach following the unimpressive run of results recorded so far in the Ghana League. The former Hearts of Oak and Asante Kotoko coach replaces Kenneth Kumsen, who will assist Addo. Inter Allies are yet to win a game and are rock bottom of the league after 6 games. CEO Delali Senaya says the appointment of the coach, or who actually won the Premier League title with the Ghana Stars in 2010, is timely.
The situation that Kumsi had, or what he's facing, he lost 6 matches. Naturally, that is not good for a coach. He's a young coach. And Kumsi Inter Allies is a family, he's part of the family. We have not asked him to step aside. He's now assisting Herbert Addo. Herbert Addo is a father, he's a leader, and we feel that he will be able to impart the necessary knowledge to our boys, including Kumsi.
Now, still, the league and management of Premier League side New Dubiasi United have denied reports they have agreed terms with ex-National Under-17 coach Pakwasi Fabian. The Bakwai-based side have struggled to produce results in 6 Premier League games played so far, and reports in the local media suggested management had a rethink about its technical department. But the club has debunked the reports. Alex Akume is Executive Vice President of the club and has been speaking to Joy Sports.
True, we are all shocked about the media hype that we have hired Pakwasi Fabian and we have fired Coach Kwame. It's not true, and I can tell you from the authority that Anthony Kwame is still at post, and we believe that he's been one of the best coaches in the league, because they have won us FA Cup from nowhere. He took us to Africa. They have produced many talent for us to send abroad. Players are making headlines abroad through him. from the scratch. So we believe that as a team, we believe that we are all going down together, not the coach. We are all doing the team together. We are hand in hand with him. We lost our first 3 matches, and our last 3 matches we have never lost. So why should we fire our coach? We don't believe that. But our supporters and somebody who follow the club closely, who made that announcement, that yes, he told us that we should change the coach, and some media men around heard it, and he said I've already spoken to Package. The package is ready to come and help. That's why the media hype it in Kumasi when Blaster training ground. So we think that's where the news started. But I can see it clearly that comments are post. Package is just a news, just a flash news, and I believe that we are backing Coach Comey to help the club to reach the heights we all believe we should.
Well, that'll be all for sports tonight. My name is George Adi Jr. I'm off for a great sporting weekend. Do not miss out.
Sports was brought to you in association with
Smile. You've got Higo.
Before I bring you the international news, some ministries, departments and agencies are yet to comply with the presidential directive to migrate from post-paid meters to prepaid ones 3 years ago. Joy News checks indicate several of the offices are still using the credit meters, even though a few have both types. Meanwhile, the presidency only Thursday issued another directive for prepaid meters to be installed at all government bungalows.
The directive by President John Mahama, who was then Vice President in 2010, was to curb the abuse of electricity at the various ministries, departments and agencies. It also aimed to significantly reduce government's huge indebtedness to the Electricity Company of Ghana, which had accumulated to about 80 million cedis at the time. The Ministries of Agriculture and Lands and Natural Resources were yet to install the prepaid meters, while the Ministry of Agriculture next had a prepaid meter installed. Offices at the Kokobo Division, the VRA and ECG used both post and prepaid meters.
Prepaid meter has been installed in some of the offices, but not our main office. We have a MOFA, for instance, we have direct streets. We are not all housed in one block. Some of the blocks are along the beach end, as you know. Some at like Vet, for instance, is at La area. So some of our offices have been, if ECG has installed the prepaid meters in some of those offices, and we've been using for over a year now, but the main head office, they are yet to install it.
At the Energy Ministry, their sources of power were complemented by solar and wind energy. Others, however, blame the ECG for stalling with the installation.
Our ministry doesn't have any prepaid meters, so we have about 3 of them, 3 blocks. The main office block, that's the head office, Ministry of Justice, and then the prosecutions division, and then the main administrative block. All those places are still using the postpaid meters. We have not changed them to prepaid yet. The directive was for the ECG to bring us those meters. They are the ones to come and do the change. We are not the ones to go to them for them to bring it. They are the ones to bring it to us. So we are waiting on them to bring it.
We haven't started using the prepaid, but we've taken steps to acquire the prepaid. First of all, we wrote to ECG to bring their technicians, their engineers to come and examine the blocks, look at our wiring and everything, and give us the appropriate recommendations. So we will procure the appropriate meter for whatever capacity we are consuming. They are yet to come back to us with the technical reports.
Meanwhile, reports indicate the Electricity Company of Ghana, as at December last year, said it had installed 900 meters, representing about 80% of MDAs supposed to have been covered. Abigail Adumakwenchi for Joy News.
Bodies pulled from Kenya's Westgate shopping center on Thursday are highly likely to be 2 of the attackers. Indungu Getenge, chairman of the committee investigating the attack, says AK-47 rifles used by the militants were found next to the bodies. Meanwhile, Uganda has issued a red alert after the U.S. warned of a terror threat similar to last month's attack by militants in neighboring Kenya. Security has been visibly stepped up, with cars and bags being searched at Nakumatt Oasis shopping center. This is the first time Uganda has been on its highest alert since the 2010 twin suicide bombings in Kampala. More than 70 people were killed in the attack by Somalia's Al-Shabaab group. The bombers targeted 2 restaurants where patrons were watching the Football World Cup on TV. The International Criminal Court has said Kenyan President Uhuru Kenyatta need not attend all of his trial on charges of crimes against humanity. He is only required to be present at certain key parts of the case, a majority of judges ruled. Kenyatta has argued that attending the trial in The Hague would prevent him from governing the country. Both Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto deny charges of organizing violence after the 2007 election. Friday's ruling states that the Kenyan president must be physically present during the opening and closing statements, hearings where victims present their views and concerns in person, the verdict and any other sessions determined by the court. That'll be all for international news.
International news was brought to you in association.
Dr. Jim appears to be taking his new role as a follower of Jesus Christ rather seriously, and from the look of things, nothing will distract him. Not even the naysayers who are questioning the circumstances surrounding his deliverance and the prophet whom, if you like, saved him from the path of destruction.
Are you ready?
They say everyone has 3 lives.
About a month ago, news broke that one of Nollywood's bad boys, Jim Ike, had allegedly been delivered from some demons that were preventing him from finding real love. A video footage which later went viral on social media platforms lent more credence to the deliverance. But even then, some of his fans and colleagues doubted his deliverance, with renowned actor Segun Arinze quoted as having downplayed the whole session as an act. Although Jim initially refused to comment on the issue, he recently took to his Twitter page to say he is not in a position to judge Prophet TB Joshua, at whose church he was delivered. The actor, who now says he's God's ambassador, tweeted Thursday night, "Prophet TB Joshua, real or fake, is not in my place to judge, nor yours. My testament is the clarity of vision and mission I have now. My focus is God, not man." Well, Jim Ike is now the Lord's, no matter how one chooses to look at it, and I think for him, that is what is most important.
You're so cute. Yeah, listen to the kids.
Save a Life Concert, an event that is aiming at soliciting funds from its patrons to assist the cardio center of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, is coming off tomorrow at the banquet hall of the State House. The concert, which is put together by High Life musician Kwabna, will see other artists like Samini, Becca, or Chami Kwame, a host of them. Here's a teaser of what to expect tomorrow.
It feels good to be back home after a few months on the road, together with Kwabna out there in the States doing shows. And he actually spoke to me while we were there about this very initiative of his. We're all here to make it happen, try the little we can to be a part of a bigger force that's aimed at saving a life.
Okay, as I said, it's just a teaser. The concert itself is tomorrow. That's it for Showbiz.
Showbiz was brought to you by Airtel.
Enjoy the lifestyle of a superstar. Just keep using your Airtel line and win BMW cars, trips to Brazil, cash prizes, and Samsung Galaxy S4 phones. If you didn't mind, never mind.
That's it for the bulletin. Before I go though, a quick run through our top stories. All 23 passengers on board 207 Benz bus feared dead in the Shanti Region highway crash. Unionless commercial drivers outlawed by city authorities in Accra bypass Accra Metropolitan Assembly for much sought after permits. Test flights of locally manufactured aircraft botched over paperwork. Junior high school within Gasouth Municipal Assembly facing eviction say they are helpless as MCE leaves them to their fate. And several ministries, departments and agencies yet to have prepaid electricity meters installed 3 years after a directive from then Vice President Mahama. That's it for the bulletin. For more news, log on to myjoyonline.com. Enjoy your weekend.